All right, let's talk about it. This is the big one, the matchup everyone's been watching. The Xiaomi 17 Pro Max going head-to-head with Apple's iPhone 17 Pro Max. For a lot of us, this is probably one of the biggest tech choices of the entire year.
But let's get one thing straight right off the bat. This isn't about finding the single best phone out there. No, this is all about finding the absolute best phone for you. Because as you're about to see, these two amazing devices are really built for two very, very different people.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to look under the hood at the specs, compare their whole design and philosophy, figure out which type of user you really are, and then wrap it all up with the only question that actually matters. Let's dive in.
First up, let's get technical. We're going under the hood, cutting right through all the marketing hype to look at the raw numbers and specs that make these phones tick.
Okay, so laying it all out on the table, you can see the differences immediately. You've got the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 going up against Apple's A19 Pro. I mean, both are just absolute monsters in terms of power. And they both have these huge, gorgeous 6.9-inch OLED screens. But take a closer look at the battery, and then at the cameras. That's where things get really interesting.
And here is maybe the single biggest difference on the spec sheet. I mean, look at this. The Xiaomi is packing a colossal 7,500 mAh battery. The iPhone, it's sitting around 5,088. That is a massive, massive gap. And that's not even counting Xiaomi's insane 100-watt fast charging. Honestly, for heavy users, this one chart right here could be the end of the debate.
And then we get to the cameras. And it's not really about who has more megapixels. It's about philosophy. Xiaomi teams up with Leica to get that iconic photographic look with three big 50-megapixel sensors. Apple, on the other hand, is all in on its fusion tech, using incredible software to perfect every single shot. And let's be honest, it still holds the crown when it comes to video quality.
So beyond the basics, what's the special move for each phone? For Xiaomi, it's this wild experimental secondary display on the back. It's actually a pretty clever idea for seeing notifications or framing up selfies with the main camera. Apple's signature feature, well, it isn't really one piece of hardware. It's the whole ecosystem, the promise of years of updates, and the fact that an iPhone just holds its value like nothing else.
All right, so we've seen what's on the inside, but what about the outside? This is all about design and philosophy, what these phones really say about you when you're just holding them in your hand.
You could sum up Xiaomi's whole vibe as experimental design. They are just not afraid to try weird new things, like that second screen. And they give you these really cool adventurous colors like cold smoke purple and forest green. It's a phone designed for someone who wants their tech to be a conversation starter.
And then you have Apple. Their philosophy is all about refined design. They tend to find a design that works and then just perfect it year after year. The focus here is on super premium materials, a buttery smooth user experience, and making it as durable as possible. It's all about creating this feeling of polished, reliable, almost luxurious quality.
Okay, this brings us to what I think is the most important part of this whole breakdown. Which user are you? We've seen the specs, we've seen the designs. Now it's time to connect all that stuff to how you actually live your life.
So let's start with the challenger. When you look at everything we've talked about, who is the ideal person for the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max?
Well, you should probably lean towards the Xiaomi if you are absolutely obsessed with battery life, if you can't stand being tethered to a charger, if you're a tech lover who gets genuinely excited about weird new hardware, and if getting the most raw power for your money is at the top of your list, then yeah, this is probably your phone.
All right, let's flip the coin. What about the other side of the aisle? Who's the person that's going to walk into a store and know without a doubt that the iPhone 17 Pro Max is the right call for them?
You're choosing the iPhone if your priorities are just different. If you create videos for a living or for fun, and you need that absolutely rock-solid, best-in-class video, this is where Apple still wins. If you value knowing you'll get software updates for years and that your phone will still be worth something when you're ready to sell it, that's the iPhone. And, of course, the big one. If you're already in the Apple world with a Mac or an Apple Watch, that seamless integration is just a killer feature.
And that leads us right to our final section, the only question. We've laid out the facts, the philosophies, the user profiles. It's time to bring it all home and figure this out.
You know, the author of the article we're looking at spent weeks with both of these phones, and I think they summed it up just perfectly. They said if they were a content creator, they'd pick the iPhone, no question. But as a tech lover who just enjoys cool new features and hates charging their phone, they'd go with Xiaomi. That really cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it?
And that is the ultimate takeaway here.
This was never going to be a battle with one clear winner standing at the end. What we're looking at are two genuinely fantastic flagship phones that are simply built for two totally different people with different priorities.
So we end right back where we started, but now hopefully with a whole lot more clarity. The trick is to stop asking which phone is better and instead look at everything we've just covered and ask yourself this one final question. Which phone is better for me? Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that really matters.